Did you not write a novel called Night in Bombay?
Yes.
Did you not have a character named Carol in Night in Bombay?
Yes.
Does she not do the proposing?
Yes.
Why, Mr. Bromfield?
Where were you on the night of May 4th?
We still
Ghost
have to get
riding.
2 more. I can't supply all these. I believe in Lawrence Houseman's play, immortalized by Helen Hayes, Victoria Regina, as the proposing. Do you remember that, Miss Struther? Did you?
Yes, I think I do now you mention it.
Yes, that's right.
It
And
escaped me.
Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind, a little book that turned out here a couple of years ago, does the proposing, too. Well, apparently we lose $10 in a set of the Encyclopedia Britannica to Miss Mary Humphrey, who sent in a very good question. And it's like, H.R. Butts of Winnetka, Illinois, sends this one in, a single-part question. Now, as you all know, the British Navy is called the Royal Navy. The British Air Force is called the Royal Air Force. But the British Army is never called the Royal Army. Why?
I know, but isn't it
Mr.
called...
Bromfield.
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Isn't it called His Majesty's Army?
Don't think so. Mr. Kieran.
Well, the British Navy and the British Air Force is right from the British Isles itself, whereas the British Army is composed in the field of units from all the other colonies.
Yes.
That might be one reason for
That's
it.
certainly true, but I don't believe that would necessarily be a reason why it may not be called the Royal Army. Well, Miss Struther might be the only one that we might possibly expect to know this. It's a part of English history that I imagine one learns in the English schools. Miss Struther, shall I tell you the reason?
Yes, I'm very sorry. I know I ought to know it.
Oh, not necessarily. A lot of things we don't know about our own history that we should know. Well, in 1689, there was a Bill of Rights imposed by the Lords and Commoners. That was during the reign of William and Mary. And that provided that the King of England could never have an army during peace times without the consent of Parliament. And that custom has continued. The prohibition against calling the British Army the Royal Army has continued even during war times. And every year, solemnly, Parliament reenacts that law. Now, is that
That's
clear?
extremely interesting.
It is interesting, I
Very
think.
gratifying, but I didn't know
And it will prove even more interesting to Mr. Butts, who gets $10 on a set of Encyclopedia Britannica.
And living in Detroit probably needs it today.
It's very possible.
Oh.
See what you can do with this one. I'm going to ask you to get 3 out of 4 on this. Robert Hardy of Massena, New York, sends this one in. It's about Rebecca. Identify the following heroines of literature. They're all named Rebecca. The first Rebecca was tried for witchcraft. Who was she? The first Rebecca, Mr. Bromfield?
Ivanhoe.
The Rebecca in Ivanhoe by?
Walter Scott.
Yes, we're very precise on this program,
Walter
Mr.
Scott.
Bromfield. Now, the next Rebecca left a legacy of hate. A legacy of hate. Who would that be? Mr. Kieran.
It's the Rebecca in the book called Rebecca.
That's right.
Her husband hated her. Her surviving husband.
Good enough. Who wrote the book?
I read the book.
Miss Du Maurier.
Daphne
Mr.
du
Maurier. Thank you, Mr. Adams. Daphne du Maurier. Now, the third Rebecca was a social climber. Mr. Kieran?
Thackeray.
Well, he wasn't named Rebecca.
No. Becky Sharp.
Becky Shaw.
Mrs. Rawdon Crawley.
Yes. You're pretty formal this evening, Mr. Kieran.
Pretty elegant, I think.
Just call her Becky. The fourth and last Rebecca was lost in a cave. Was lost in a cave. Mr. Kieran again.
Becky Thatcher. isn't
Becky
it?
Thatcher. That's right. In what book?
Well, that's Mark Twain, and I would say this time that it would be Tom Sawyer.
That's right. You usually say Huckleberry Finn, Mr. Kieran, but Tom
Oh, I
Sawyer
say
is quite right. Oh, is it you, Mr. Adams,
I'm
that does that?
Huckleberry Finn.
That gives us 4 Rebeccas out of 4 and sends us on to a question from Mrs. Henry M. Bloom of Chicago, Illinois. Get 2 out of 3 if you can. Who were these famous people who were originally unsuccessful in other fields? In the first case, an unsuccessful drug clerk became a successful poet. Miss Struther.
John Keats.
John Keats, yes. You wouldn't call him a drug clerk in England.
We should call him a chemist.
A chemist or an apothecary's
Apothecary's
assistant.
man.
Apothecary's assistant,
yeah.
something of that sort. Thank you,
That's
Mr.
right.
Adams. Now, in the second case, an unsuccessful storekeeper became a successful statesman. Mr. Bromfield.
Grant?
Well, I wouldn't say that he became a very successful
No,
statesman.
but not at all.
He became a
I put up
successful
my hand
general.
and I think of general.
Mr.
Abraham Lincoln.
That's right. It's just your face, Mr. Adams.
I gave you the hint, though.
Abraham Lincoln is right, but I'm afraid we're going to lose on that because Mr. Bromfield said Grant. Unless we get the next one correct. In this case, the unsuccessful lawyer became a successful biographer. an unsuccessful lawyer became a successful biographer. Miss Strother had her
Would
hand
it
up
be
first.
Boswell?
Yes, Boswell. Mr. Adams, were you going to say Boswell?
I was going to say Boswell.
I'm sure you were. That gives us 2 out of 3. See what you can do with this one. From C. Ralph Huller of Covington, Kentucky, I beg your pardon. Basing your answers on famous quotations, can you tell us what is rather to be chosen than great riches? There are going to be 4 of these, gets 3 out of 4. What is rather to be chosen than great riches, Mr. Adams?
A good name.
A good name. And where would you find that quotation?
You would find that somewhere in the Old Testament. I wouldn't swear where.
No. In the Old Testament is quite right. It is a proverb, and you would find it in what book, Mr. Adams?
Proverb.
You and I work together beautifully, Mr. Adams, beautifully. What is better than rubies? Mr. Kieran.
A good name is better than rubies, isn't it?
I don't think a good name is better than rubies. Miss Strother?
A good woman, I thought.
Undoubtedly, but I don't believe that's...
Her price is above rubies, isn't it?
Just better than rubies. I don't think that a good woman is the right answer. Now, I may be wrong. I wish I had an Old Testament before me, but the answer is wisdom, apparently. Wisdom is better than rubies. I'm sure that a good woman is better than rubies, too, Mrs. Lupton. What is sharper than a serpent's tooth? Sharper than a... Mr. Kieran, you can't contain yourself. Mr. Kieran?
A thankless child.
Yes.
No.
I beg pardon?
To have a thankless child.
Yes, that's right. And you'll find, Mr. Adams, that quotation where?
King Lear.
Yes, that's right. Source of a great quotations. And what is better than secret love?
Oh,
Very
I don't
few
think
things.
anything.
What is better than secret love? Well, choose something. Tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. This also is a proverb from Proverbs, XXVII. Now, perhaps I give it away to you, Mr. Adams. Open rebuke is better than secret love. Open rebuke is better than secret love, and you find it...
That's quite debatable.
I see. Don't believe a word of it.
It's in the Bible, Miss Strother. And that gives us, I'm afraid, only 2 out of 4, unless we can make sure that a good woman is better than rubies, which I'm going to contest just for the moment. That sends $10 instead of the Encyclopedia Britannica to Mr. Huller. What can you do with this one? From Miss S.M. Giffen of Yonkers, New York. Give 4 book titles that might serve as sentences a judge might pronounce on a prisoner. I'll give you all possible latitude here. Miss Strother.
3 Weeks by Eleanor Glynn.
Yeah, 3 weeks. That's very good. Short sentence, but a very long seller. That gives us 1. Mr. Kieran.
40 Days of Musa Dog.
40 Days of Musa Dog by Franz Werfel. That will do very well. That gives us 2. Mr. Adams.
Possession by Louis Bromfield.
Possession. You mean 9 points of
That's
the law?
9 points of the law.
Well, you think that would be a sentence pronounced by a judge?
Possession, yes.
Would he say possession?
He would if he were
You know,
laconic.
you're giving Bromfield a full plug on this program, Mr. Adams. It's been going on for quite a time. Miss Strother.
1001 Nights.
1001 Nights. Yes, that would be a very good one.
These are all time sentences.
Well, most sentences are time sentences.
Mr. Kieran's hand's been up a long
Oh,
time.
I'm sorry, Mr. Kieran.
2 years before the mast.
2 years before the mast, a very good one. One might think of a number of others.
20,000 leagues under the sea.
Life Among the Lowly, Mr. Adams. Or perhaps Live Alone and Like It by Marjorie Hillis might do. Barbara Mathis of Bound Brook, New Jersey, sends this one in. Get 2 out of 3 if you can. This is about animals. What animals frequently appear in pictures by the following artists? The first artist is Giorgio de Chirico. Giorgio de Chirico. Mr. Brumfield.
Horses.
Horses. Mr. Kieran.
Also, lions. He puts lions in his picture.
He does put lions in his... Does he put lions in his picture, Mr. Brumfield?
Now and then, I think more horses.
I think more horses than lions, too. Well, we'll let the lions in, Mr. Kieran. Now, in the next case, Henri Julien Rousseau. Henri Julien Rousseau, Mr. Kieran.
Well, he has all sorts of tropical animals. Tiger, for one.
Yes.
Monkeys sometimes.
Monkeys,
Monkeys,
that's
as
right.
Mr. Bromfield says.
Oranges, which are not animals.
No, oranges no.
Pineapples.
Who is or was Rousseau, Mr. Kieran?
He was a customs house tender, what they call a douanier. That's what they call him, Rousseau the douanier, to distinguish him from Theodore Etienne Rousseau, the landscape painter.
You're not even confused at all by the other Rousseau who wrote his own confessions, I suppose.
No, Jean-Jacques, no.
Oh, no. It's wonderful the way you keep your Rousseaus apart. What animal frequently appears in pictures by Thomas A. Dorgan? Thomas A. Dorgan. Mr. Adams.
The human animal.
You're bitter this evening, Mr. Adams. No, I don't think so. Do you remember those old-time comic strips, Mr. Tad?
Well, Feedink, trained dog, and also hot dogs.
Yes, it seems to me that all the
Galloping hot
characters by Tad, Mr. Adams, are dogs, aren't they? It's a tribute to Tad's genius that you think they're human beings.
Well,
Mr. Bromfield?
no, I was going to say they look more like human beings than dogs.
Yes, than dogs do. Well, now we may have time for one more. Let's see. How are these pairs of words and phrases connected in their original meanings? This comes from Miss Frances Taniguchi of Oakland. Fool and pair of bellows. How would they be connected in their original meaning? Fool and pair of bellows. Mr. Kieran.
Well, full from the blowing of the wind in through them, you mean? From the word flatus.
No, the word is follis, I believe. Bellows, Latin meaning bellows, and bellows is a windbag, and a windbag is a fool. I think you were very near to it. How about arrive and bank of a river? How are they connected? Mr. Bromfield.
From the old, it comes from French. It's arriver, which means to get on
That's
the...
right. I'm afraid you've got it, but I'm afraid I'll have to interrupt you, Mr. Bromfield, and turn the rest of the evening over to Mr. Cross.
The first brisk days of fall mark the return of interest in the bridge table, renewed activity in the book clubs, and social plans that had stagnated in the summer heat begin to take shape again. In other words, we call it the start of the social season. Now, on these occasions of social activities, whether it be simply a bridge game or a debutante ball, Canada Dry Ginger Ale will help make your entertaining efforts more successful. For Canada Dry has a distinctive flavor that's different, a flavor created by the careful blending of finest Jamaica ginger, selected imported spices, pure sugar, and other choice ingredients under a formula that's never been closely duplicated. And it's this distinctive flavor and aroma that's made Canada Dry a welcome guest on any occasion, has made it famous as the champagne of ginger ales.
A quick accounting with the accounting department reveals that we've lost a total of $30 and 3 sets of the Encyclopedia Britannica. Miss Strother, thank you for coming back again tonight, and thank you, Mr. Bromfield, for your first appearance. Next week, Information Please presents the old gang, Levant, Adams, and Kieran, with the author of The Triumph of American Capitalism, Mr. Louis, as our special guest star. Remember, for every question we use, whether or not it's answered correctly, the sender gets $5. And if your question stumps our experts, you not only get $10 more, but in addition, a complete 24-volume set of the Encyclopedia Britannica. Remember, send your letters with questions and the correct answers to Canada Dry, 1 Pershing Square, New York City.
Among the host of Canada Dry beverages, you are bound to enjoy these favorites: Canada Dry Tom Collins Mixer and Canada Dry Lime Ricky, both made with genuine fruit base and the finest ingredients. No preservatives or artificial flavoring. So for delicious, cooling, tall drinks, insist on Canada Dry's Tom Collins Mixer and Canada Dry Lime Ricky. The family size costs only 15 cents, plus bottle deposit. This is Milton Cross saying goodnight for Canada Dry until next week at this same time.